Hey everyone. So I know that a lot of people have been saying that the economic downturn that we've been facing, that's behind us and that things are really going to start to pick back up once the economy reopens. Unfortunately, I don't believe that that's the case. I think that there are a number of indicators that we can point to that suggest otherwise. This story is one of them. So banks set aside billions bracing for more economic pain. So this story is coming from ABC News, and then we'll just jump right into it. With tens of millions of Americans out of work and many businesses shut down or operating under restrictions due to the coronavirus, three of the nation's biggest banks set aside nearly $30 billion in the second quarter to cover potentially bad loans that were fine only a few months ago. And so I know that a lot of people like to point to the stock market as a good economic indicator. I thoroughly disagree. I think that when you just look at, just the number of Americans that have no stake in the stock market, I think that alone makes it not a good indicator. But also, the stock market is very reactionary to the news cycle, very volatile. And I think that when you're talking about banks, they're thinking a lot more long term, making them better indicators for stuff like this. And so let's read further. Back in April, the talk among many economists and Wall Street analysts was that the U.S. economy was going through a V-shaped recovery. The shutdowns and stay-at-home orders would cause massive job and business losses, but once reopened, things would quickly return to normal. That scenario has not played out. And so, why is it not played out? I think that one of the reasons is that we just didn't shut down fast enough, causing the virus to get worse. If you look at places in Europe, they're doing a lot better than we are in terms of cases and number of deaths, everything. But also, I think that the stimulus that was passed was, it was embarrassing. It was basically just a massive sellout to corporations, and $1,200, a $1,200 payment, that just wasn't good enough. And we can look at like Canada, it was $1,200 every month for the duration of the pandemic. Canada's doing a lot better when it comes to stuff like this. And so it's really unfortunate. I think that we will see another round of stimulus coming, because I don't think that Republicans want just a massive loss. Because in case you guys don't know, the House has passed another round of stimulus, but the it's being blocked in the Senate, and and even that round of stimulus that they passed, that the House passed, that wasn't even a good one. It was also just another sellout to corporations. It had like stuff to like bail out lobbyists. Like those are the people that need help right now. But even that couldn't get through the Senate. But like I said, they will probably pass something. I don't think it's going to be fast enough. So the U.S. coronavirus pandemic is now in month 5, with infections hitting records in Florida, Texas, and California, causing state and local authorities to again shut down parts of their economies. I believe Florida is currently worse than New York at its peak. I could be fact check me on that if that's not true, but I definitely remember reading something like that. The trillions of dollars in economic support passed in April to keep Americans and businesses afloat is now mostly running out. Enhanced unemployment benefits expire at the end of the month unless Congress acts. And at this point, many consumers are upward of 90 days past due on debts that would be in collections if it wasn't for government and bank sponsored forbearance programs. And so we know that there's been a freeze on evictions. We know that there have been increased unemployment benefits. Those are both going to run out really soon. And it just doesn't look like Congress is going to do something in time to really remedy that situation. And I hope that they do. I hope that they can really get their act together. But it's not looking at it. It's really, really not looking like it. And so bankers now seem to be bracing for the economy to keep struggling in the months ahead. The efforts to reopen local economies across the U.S. have contributed to the growing number of infections. California, the nation's most populous state, on Monday scaled back many of its reopening initiatives as virus cases, hospitalizations, and deaths all rise. The Federal Reserve last month told the nation's biggest banks to brace for a potential double dip recession, with things deteriorating once again later this summer into fall. I think that a lot of health experts are expecting that we are going to see a resurgence of the virus once wintertime hits. I don't know. I honestly don't know how, like, what the science of like how this virus does in relation to the weather, because I know that a lot of people thought that it was going to go away in the summer. It obviously hasn't, and so maybe in the winter it won't necessarily get worse. But I don't know. I think that most people are expecting it to go back up, which is really, really bad. All right. In a call with reporters, JP Morgan Chief Financial Officer Jennifer Piepszak said the bank now expects a much more protracted downturn than what it forecast back in April. Despite some recent positive macroeconomic data and significant decisive government action, we still face much uncertainty regarding the future path of the economy, JP Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon said in a prepared statement. I think that it's very ironic. Jamie Dimon, he is someone that was like super anti-Bernie Sanders, making it very ironic because Bernie Sanders' policies would have things doing a lot better than they are today, let's just say. In its second quarter results, JP Morgan said it set aside $10.5 billion to cover up potentially bad loans. That's on top of the $8.3 billion the bank set aside in April, when the pandemic was only just starting to impact the U.S. economy. And then we'll just kind of finish out the story. the situation was just as bad as Citigroup and Wells Fargo City, which is heavily exposed in credit cards, set aside an additional $7.9 billion to cover up the potentially bad loan. Wells Fargo did not set aside as much money as its peers in April, had to play catch up this quarter, setting aside $8.4 billion to cover potentially bad loans. Our view of the length and severity of the economic downturn has deteriorated considerably from assumptions used last quarter, said Wells Fargo CEO Charlie Scharf in the company's earnings release. And so like I said previously, I do think that these banks. I think here's the thing: the banks, they're really not going to hurt during everything. They know that they're going to get another bailout. But this is looking bad for average people. We are going to see a lot of people foreclosing their mortgages. We're going to see a wave of homelessness as a bunch of people get evicted. And I hear people saying like, oh, a bunch of people are going to get evicted, but then like prices are going to go down in like apartments and everything, so they'll be okay. And it's like even a brief period where like there's massive homelessness. That's not good. That is not good at all. And we're seeing like our unemployment system is like overrun right now because it's just not equipped to handle stuff like this. And you have like governors in some states. I think Cuomo. So back when this was a couple months ago, I did a video about it. But like Cuomo was like trying to cut Medicaid like while this was going on. Like he like didn't want like extra stimulus from New York because he was like trying to cut Medicaid. And they're like, oh, we want to give you this. It just people aren't really, and that's a Democrat. Cuomo's a Democrat, governor of New York, and so I really think that there is going to be a pretty severe recession coming. And so, sorry, this is a bit of a depressing story. I know it's not. It's going to be hard to have some good stories coming forward in these next few months. But we're going to try and take it as we can. We're going to try and do the best. Everyone, we just gotta be optimistic and we gotta make the best of it. And so, anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this story. If you disagreed with anything I said, please leave a comment down below. But if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe and